Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a 24 volt 50 amp hour group 24 battery from GrenerPower. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we have. Alright, as soon as you open it, you first get your product pouch that has your user's manual and something else that just says share with us, and it's kind of like a service card and a operation guide for beginners, notice before use. Small piece of styrofoam and then the battery, and they do give you 2 post bolts. Alright, so here is the battery out of the packaging. You can see that it says GrenerPower. It says 25.6 volt 50 amp hour battery, and so that will give you your watt hours of 1280. It also says green energy, empower life, lithium iron phosphate deep cycle battery, and then it gives you some website contact and provider information here at the bottom. The sides and the back are just a nice light blue. You can see that it does have post covers right here, and it does have a pretty nice nylon strap that you can easily take off. Now, this is a group 24 battery, so I'll go ahead and give you the dimensions on the screen. And also, this battery weighs in at 23.6 pounds. I don't want to confuse anyone by this saying 50 amp hours. Now you're probably thinking, Jim, why would I want a 50 amp hour battery when I can get a 100 amp hour battery in a group 24 case as well? Because this is a 24 volt 50 amp hour battery. So you're getting the same capacity as a 12 volt 100 amp hour battery. And then you're probably asking, why would I even bother doing that? It seems like you would have to get specialized equipment and stuff like that. Well, you do need to get a 24 volt inverter, which really it would cost right around the same as a 12 volt inverter. And when it comes to the, putting more batteries on this, you can do 4 batteries in parallel to get a 24 volt 400 or 200 amp hour bank. And you can double that, so you can actually have a 48 volt 200 amp hour bank if you bought 8 of these batteries. When it comes to charging and discharging this battery, it's supposed to be charged at 20 amps, that's what is recommended, but you can max the charging out at 50 amps. When it comes to discharging, this thing has a max discharge rate of 100 amps. And now you're probably like, again, well, 100 amps, that's the same as every other battery you've reviewed. No, 100 amps at 24 volts. So we're doubling the maximum discharge rate. So this thing can actually discharge at 24 to 2500 watts without any issues. And we'll be testing that later. And the documentation does say that it can actually discharge 200 amps for up to 10 seconds, and it can discharge 300 amps for 3 seconds. Now, unfortunately, I don't even have anything that can discharge 300 amps at 24 volts, because you're talking over 6,000 watts. Okay, so what should you do when you do get a 24 volt 50 amp hour battery? Well, you should do all the same things you would do if you bought a 12 volt battery. You should check the terminals to make sure that the battery is working properly. It should be right around 26.3 to 26.4 volts when you receive it. And also, you'll want to charge it up all the way. And if you have the option, you want to do a discharge test to make sure you're getting your 50 amp hours. So let's go ahead and check the voltage. All right, and the voltage is 26.33, so that is exactly what it should be. All right, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and charge this up all the way, and then I'll do a discharge test, and I'll let you know the results. All right, well, the capacity test is done for this GrenerPower 24 volt 50 amp hour battery, and you can see down here the capacity was 50.21 amp hours, and it just passed right over capacity of what they advertise. And as you can see, look at this discharge curve. you can see that it kind of spikes down at the very beginning over here, and it is 26.348 volts. Now it stays at that voltage all the way to 20% of the capacity of the battery, which is crazy. And then from the very beginning at 26.348 volts all the way down to 95%. I mean, it only goes down like 1.2 volts for between 3% and 95%. So that is amazing what lithium iron phosphate can do. Okay, for the high amperage test, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the 24 volt 50 amp hour GrenerPower battery connected to this 24 volt 3000 watt inverter. Now what we're going to be powering is our NUWAVE induction cooktop, a 500 watt heater, and also over here we have a 1000 watt iron skillet. And we also have a clamp meter that will show the amperage going through the wire, and also a voltmeter to see the voltage of the battery. And this battery claims that it can do 100 amps continuous discharge. Now that is going to be 2500 watts. So we're almost going to be maxing out this inverter to just try to do the maximum of this battery. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to basically push this inverter to its limit to see if this battery will shut down due to an over amperage event, which I don't think we have enough power to be able to do it. But let's go ahead and start the 5-minute test. All right, so let's go ahead, and first we're just going to put our NUWAVE on high, 1300 watts, max sear, start. And the amperage is up to, looks like about 55 amps, about 55 amps. And then we're going to go ahead and turn on this 1000 watt electric cooktop. That's giving us 106 amps right there. So I think that's a good place to start. And our voltage is down to 24.83. It was at like 26.26, I believe, when we first started. So let's go ahead and start the timer. All right, and I will see you back in 5 minutes. All right, well, it's been actually 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and we are still pulling 106.7 amps. The voltage is 24.69 to 24.7, which is fantastic. When it comes to the heat, this battery does not have any hot spots whatsoever. I'm using 4-gauge wire to do this test, and it is not hot at all. I can feel a little bit of warmth, so it's probably maybe 100 degrees. Air outtake of the inverter, I mean, is fine. There is nothing going on. This battery can easily do this. This is no problem. Let's go ahead and turn on this 500 watt heater just to see how high we can get the amps and to see if the battery will shut off. I don't think it will, but let's go ahead and do it. The inverter will probably shut off before that. Okay, heater's on. We're now doing 133 amps. It'll go back down a little bit. Oh, actually it's going up. 130, let's just say 133 amps. Voltage is at 24.36. So if you multiply those together, we're over 3,000 watts right now. Let's just say 132 times 24.37. That is actually 3,216 watts coming from this 3,000 watt inverter. So this inverter is maxed out. And this battery is not having any issues with it whatsoever. Terminals are skin temperature, no big deal. So I would say this is a huge pass, and unfortunately I don't have enough inverter power to actually go higher than this. So, but we know that it can do 3,000 watts with really no problem. All right, now that we know for a fact that this GrenerPower 24 volt 50 amp hour battery can do 100 amps continuous for over 5 minutes easily, I think let's go ahead and see if it does have cold temperature charging protection. Nowhere in the documentation does it say that it does, so I'm not expecting it to. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in a portable freezer overnight and get it down to about 30 degrees, and then we'll just see if it charges. So I'll see you in about 24 hours. All right, well, I just pulled out this GrenerPower 24V 50 amp hour battery from my freezer. It's been sitting in there right at around, it's been set for 28 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like -1 degrees Celsius for the past 24 hours. So it should be right on that line of being frozen. So if it does have cold temperature charging protection, it should trigger. But again, nowhere in the documentation says that it does. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect this negative up, and it's going to say that it's going to start charging, and it should, after a few seconds, say that it's full. If it doesn't, then we've confirmed that it does not have cold temperature charging protection. So here we go. All right, it's starting to charge. And full. Look at that. This battery does have cold temperature charging protection. And it does trigger at, well, let's just say 28 degrees, because that's what that portable freezer was set to. So that is excellent. That is a little bonus I was not expecting. All right, so what do I think of the GrenerPower 24V 50 amp hour Group 24 lithium iron phosphate battery? You know, I like this thing. If you're looking for a battery, and you don't care if it's 12 or 24 volts, it's always better to go 24 volts because they're more efficient. You need smaller wiring. They can usually handle higher amperages. In the case of this one, the BMS inside, even though it's a 50 amp hour battery, it can handle 100 amps with no problem, which is a huge bonus because at 24 volts, I mean, you're looking at 2,500 watts of continuous wattage power. So that is great. This might actually be my new setup when I am actually chipping branches out in my yard with my electric chipper. I could use one of these and a 3,000 watt 24 volt inverter, and I would have absolutely no problem whatsoever. Also, it did pass the capacity test. It gave us right at 50 amp hours. And then on top of that, you know, like I said, it can do 100 amps continuous. I actually did over 100 amps continuous, and it didn't have any issues with that. And it has cold temperature charging protection, which it doesn't say anything about that in the manuals. So that's a huge bonus. So if you have any questions about the GrenerPower 24V 50 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'll have a link to this item in my description if you want to look further into it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day. Bye-bye.